how to cut a hair system. That is going to be the topic of today's video, and I've got my bald friend here, and I'm going to be doing, this is going to be a really in-depth video. This video is in partnership with Vivid Hair. This is what I'm wearing right now. This is a super thin poly base. I mean, this is basically, this is incredible. And for those of you who have been following up and keeping up with my videos, hopefully, because I get a lot of comments saying, wait, you had hair, you didn't have hair, you had hair, what's going on? So just watch my videos. You'll see that I've been wearing a hair system on and off, and I love the fact that I could just put this on and it's human hair. It's my natural color. It blends in perfectly. I mean, so I'm super excited about this. And I know people say, oh, it's disconnected. Well, that's a whole look in itself. You know what I mean? The disconnected haircuts are fine. But anyway, the topic of this video is I'm going to be making over, believe it or not, this mannequin. And whether you have some hair on the top of your head or no hair on the top of your head, this is going to be a really in-depth video on how I'm going to cut the hair system, the proper steps I'm using to get it ready. I'm going to break down the actual unit itself, and I'm excited, so I'm ready to go. Let's get started. So starting with the actual unit itself, this is the M lace. It's 7x9 inch and the color number NC. All right, and what's unique about this, which I'll show you guys here, is that this is a silk base in through the middle and a polyurethane base throughout the perimeter here, which from what they're saying, and what that means is that you could literally just apply tape or glue right around the perimeter of this, and you could pretty much leave this without anything on it, right? So it's good for the scalp. You can get breathability on this. If you want to put a piece of tape on here, you can totally, but I am really excited about using this. What's also unique is the threading and how this has been created as far as making it look identical to a human scalp and the way the hair grows from the scalp. Just reading from what Vivid Hair sent me, it's a very advanced technique. A tri-layer system is used, meaning that when the hair is knotted, the knots are concealed between the layers. The hair is then injected through the silk material, making the knots 100% visible and giving the illusion that the hair is actually growing from your own scalp. So what's also unique about this is that you don't really need to cut anything. This fits most people's head shape as far as the balding area. And you have to be very careful too, because this is right up against the hairline here. So you don't want to cut really too much or anything, because you want to keep it looking natural. So let's take a quick look up close. And what I'm doing, as you can see, is I'm literally just combing the hair, and look at how natural that looks. Right? It literally looks like it's growing from the scalp. And that's what makes this method of how they created this really unique. And it's virtually undetectable, which is also why I love working with them, because even this unit, you can see right down to the scalp, which is pretty awesome. So let's get into the proper tools you may need and the steps in order to actually just put this thing on. So the first thing that I did is I took a towel and I used acetone. This is pure acetone nail polish remover, because from what I recall, they spray a conditioning base on this, and you just want to make sure there's nothing on it so it doesn't prevent this from sticking to the scalp. And then I shampooed it and conditioned it. So this thing is fully cleaned, ready to go. I did blow dry it because you do want to have this base mostly dry, at least from what I understand, because so it applies to the scalp much easier. There's no barrier, no water that's causing it not to stick. But this thing is pretty much ready to go. It's fully cleaned. And so this is the first step. Then you need a handful of tools and items to use to make this a lot easier for yourself, or if you're applying this on somebody else. Firstly, you're going to need a bowl. You could also use a plastic cup, but something that you put the glue on, that you can take a brush and use to scoop out and apply onto the unit. So any bowl will do, plastic bowl. And next up is the actual brush. This is a rubber application brush, which you can get on like Amazon, but the fact that it's rubber, it really is easy to work with when applying the glue onto the scalp or the hair unit itself. And what happens is over time, after you use this, the glue does build up on this, but you can easily just roll it off with your finger. And that's what I love about it, is that it's very, very easy to work with. So definitely pick up one of these brushes. It's essential to applying this, especially if you're using a unit like this where you're applying the whole head. You got to take this thing and brush it on the entire head. So you need something that's going to get good coverage. And this actually really works well as far as spreading the base or the glue on. So speaking of the glue, this is Ghost Bond Supreme, which I highly suggest. Everybody seems to use this stuff. It can be found on thevividhair.com as well if you're interested in getting this, but this is what I suggest. The Supreme, it's just a stronger hold, to be honest with you. They do have a regular version, but I like the Supreme just because it's a stronger hold, to be honest with you. And then I've got this. This is the Walker Scalp Protector. Very, very essential to apply on the scalp because you want to make sure that you are conditioning the scalp and creating a light layer of protection, right? It's like almost like going out in the sun without sunscreen. You need some sort of protection on the scalp. So I highly suggest this. This is the Thick Scalp Protector from Walker. Really, really good stuff. Also, they also have tape. So the tape is essential for if you do want to use the taping method. So all these things are available on thevividhair.com. Next, I like to use, this is called No Sweat. You can spray this, 2 or 3 spritzes on the scalp, let it dry for a minute, and then what it does is it helps prevent from you sweating, right? Which is really essential because once you start sweating, that's when it starts to loosen up and get kind of built up under the unit. So something like this really, really helps. Rubbing alcohol, I suggest taking a dab of rubbing alcohol and wiping down the scalp at least maybe just once to remove any sort of oils or anything. You do want to make sure that your scalp is clean before you do this, but the process would be washing your scalp right in this area and then using rubbing alcohol, just wipe it down once, then put the scalp protector on, and then I would put the No Sweat or the No Sweat first, actually the No Sweat first and then the scalp protector because this is the last thing that goes on, so you're building up. So then this, and then you're ready, let it dry for 5 minutes or so, and then you're ready to apply the Ghost Bond onto the scalp. Why this is going to be fun with this tutorial, the fact that this hair is a bit longer and so is this hair unit. So what I'm going to do is actually create a look where I blend in this, right? I blend in this hair with the rest of this hair, creating kind of a longer, I was almost going to do like a Kylo Ren haircut tutorial on this, so it's going to be inspired by that. This type of unit right into here, right? Because it's so very thick right here, it may not be the best for showing an exposed hairline, just simply because it's really, really thick, right? And it may look a little obvious. If you don't mind having that really thick hairline, then totally go for it. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a look that kind of has more of a sweeping type texture like this, so it works into the haircut. So I'm going to apply this, I'm going to cut it. This is going to be a really, really in-depth, pretty cool video, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. All right, so once again, wiping this down with rubbing alcohol, just to make sure that this is nice and clean right in through here. Then let's spray. Obviously, this is a mannequin head, so it's not going to sweat. Unfortunately, I should spray this on my face right now. But you work it in a little bit, make sure you get it all over the scalp, right? And then you go in with the protective base, the scalp protector. Take this off, you dab it on, and you start to just kind of work it throughout the entire perimeter, right? So now, a lot of times, if you are using a system for the first time, there's a number of different ways to find out where to actually put the hairline. Now on this, you could see from before, I guess this was used prior to create some sort of hairline in through here. So what you can also do is do 4 fingers from the eyebrow, right? And that is where about the natural hairline is going to be, which is like actually right in this area. So it's a little trick. I know sometimes people, what they do is they take a marker or makeup and they just kind of paint right here on the hairline itself. What you could also do is you can use a comb and you can press like this to make kind of an indentation, right, of where the unit needs to go for the hairline. But the hairline obviously is the most important when it comes to everything. So when it comes to applying the glue, right, what I like to do is take a small amount. I like to just shake it up a little bit. Make sure you shake up the Ghost Bond. And what you can do is then squeeze. You don't need a whole lot, right? You don't need a whole lot, as you can see, because we're only working on this one area right in through here. But I would suggest doing maybe 2 to 3 applications of this. So what you want to do is you don't want to over saturate, right, the brush, because what's going to happen is it's going to get all over the place, and the last thing you want is for this to become a hot mess. So what I would suggest doing is just kind of lightly working your way around the outer perimeter first, and then work down towards the bottom, just because, in case this is your first time doing it, you want to make sure that you don't go down into the hair, right? That's the last thing you want to do is get the glue in the hair, because trust me, it's happened to me a number of times and it's not fun. It's definitely not fun. So as you can see, I'm just going to be kind of finishing this up, going all the way around. And if you get it on here, it's not like it's the end of the world. What's more important is to get it in the areas that is needed, where it's going to be sticking on the scalp, like right around the hairline and this whole perimeter. Because remember, this is what's going to be sticking on the scalp. So you need to make sure that you have this fully saturated and covered, and this, trust me, when I say this is strong and sticky, it is. This is some strong stuff right in through here. All right, so let's finish up just doing this, and I'm going to get the hairline. Again, I'm going very, very gently on the hairline. It's like painting on with a brush on a canvas. You just really, really need to make sure that you're not going on the actual scalp, right, on the hairline with this, meaning over the hairline onto the hair. If you've never done this before, it can be a little bit intimidating and tricky at first, but once you get the hang of actually applying something like this onto something, then it becomes much easier over time. So trust me, it was new for me. When I first did this, I was a little more experienced because of doing hair color and things like that. But yeah, you definitely get used to it. Okay, so what you want to do is once you have the glue on the actual poly section, the outer perimeter of the unit, you just want to let it sit for a little bit. All right, you want to let it sit and dry, and that could take anywhere from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. It all really, really depends. But that's the key, is to let this whole base dry. All right. Now, what you could also do, just to be on the safe side, is you could take a little more of the glue, because you see I basically almost used all of it right in that one, which is it was actually a perfect squeeze, so it just got a little bit. What you can do is you can go back in, right? You want to set this aside somewhere, let it dry. But what you can do is you can actually go onto the scalp, right in through here, and you could apply the glue right in that area that you made before with the comb to kind of show where the hairline is. One thing I also want to note, that this mannequin already came bald already, but if you do want to shave off the head, the hair from the head, if you do have any peach fuzz, it's definitely crucial that you do that. just because you want to make sure that this is fully bald and fully clean, right? And you can do that with a razor, you know, and you could also just go around the outer perimeter right here of the unit. And that's what I really like about this piece, is that it has the flexibility of the polyurethane base, but also it's got the breathability, because these units can get a little warm. I'll be honest with you, they can get a little warm, and you know, sometimes it's a bit much. And depending on what you do, you know, they do have solutions for your system, right? For your scalp. So something like this would work great. So let's let this hang out for a few more minutes. I would normally go back in and apply another maybe 1 or 2 coats to this, and then we'll come back when it's ready and apply it. Few tips also while you're waiting. You want to make sure that you close this by turning the cap to the closed position. You don't want to have this sitting open. And then lastly, if you do want to have that extra security, right, on your scalp, you can take a piece of the double-sided tape like this, and you can just literally put one right there, and that's going to give you that little extra security. All right, so once we've got that, we just peel this right off, and now we've got another layer of glue right here. If the glue is not drying fast enough, what you could do is you can take a blow dryer like that, and you can blow dry the glue so it helps dry quick. All right, so now we're ready to apply the system. I'm going to stand right in the front above the head, and you can also have the client or if you're doing it yourself, maybe, I know this is the hardest part of it, but tilt the head back a little bit. So we're starting right in the front, and the good thing about this is that it's pretty much measured to the scalp. So as I'm turning back, I'm holding on the edges right in through here, in the corners, and I'm literally just pulling the hair downwards like this, just to make sure that everything is really glued down nicely, because that's it. You want to set it and forget it, to be honest with you. All right, so now let's comb through this, and we'll start the actual haircut. All right, so as I'm combing this down, you guys can see what I meant about the hairline, of how the hairline, you know, it's a bit almost too perfect. You know, if that's cool with you, then that's awesome. But, you know, what I would suggest is wearing a look, which we're going to be cutting today, that is more of a kind of a sweeping look like this, or you can go over this way, you know, but I think something along these lines is going to be a lot more fitting and natural. All right, so now what I'm doing is I'm using my spray bottle, and I'm literally just combing through the hair, getting all of the hair nice and saturated. And don't worry, this is on the scalp. This ain't going anywhere. You know, it's not getting pulled off. So, you know, we're good to go there. So in order to create really the ideal haircut for this, you want to look at the entire length, right? You want to say, where do I want all of this to end up? As you can see here, this is way longer. You know, there's a huge gap right in through here. Then we've got this. So in order to strengthen this whole lineup, we have to actually create a look and cut off all this excess hair and work it down into a shape this way. So let's start in the back, and I'm going to cut it about right there, and I'm literally just cutting this straight across. All right, so there we have that. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the side area right in through here. Again, what I want to do is I want to make sure that we're creating a solid flow between the top and the bottom. And I'm looking for the thin areas, and I'm saying to myself, where can I cut this to actually strengthen it? So let's go right there, one snip, and we're good to go. Automatically, as you can see through here, you've now connected the shape, and it looks much thicker. But we have to continue on working towards the front. So I'm going to comb this all straight down, and here is where the magic happens as far as creating the look in the front. You want to make sure that the end result is going to reflect the kind of look that you want. What you don't want to do is cut the front too short or not cut it short enough, right? So my goal is to create kind of a moving, sweeping type of look, right? That I can brush over to the side this way and have a little bit of texture with it. And I have that vision in my head. Same thing on this side here. We're going to comb this all straight down. So now we're going to connect this side. Same exact thing. I'm combing the hair towards me, creating my angle, and now I'm cutting upwards like so. The face frame into here is probably the most important part as well, because this is the first thing everybody sees, is the front of your head, right? So this really, really is crucial that you have a really good, solid foundation in the front, because, you know, yeah, people see the back of your head, but at the same time, you know, this is the first thing people see. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the layering, right? So the layering, what I'm going to do is just like I do in all my haircuts, I'm going to treat this as if it's completely, this is human hair. So I'm treating this as if it's human hair, and now I'm going to establish my length, right? Where am I going to layer this? So I do want to have a good amount of layers in this. I don't want to have it too short, but I don't want to have it too long either. So that's where we're cutting our first layer right into here. Now that is going to be our guide for the entire back of the head. So now what I'm doing is I'm combing the hair straight out, and I'm going to be cutting it straight out from the head, going all the way down into the length. What's great about this, because it's human hair, it literally feels as good as it possibly can. You know, it feels incredible. It's got great condition to it, and yeah, I'm just going through it. It feels incredible. All right, so now we're going to continue on this side, right into here. And, you know, the back, not to say that the back isn't important. Yes, obviously it's important. The whole haircut's important, you know, but what you need to do is you need to make sure that you have a connection from here to the very, very bottom. A lot of times, even, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, you know, you go get your haircut and there's literally no connection between the top or the back and the bottom, and it's just all over the place. So when you go to get your haircut, right, or if you're cutting this, you got to make sure you're cutting this just like a normal head of hair. Don't get intimidated. Don't be kind of discouraged or freaked out that, oh, it's, you know, this isn't hair that's coming from the scalp. But if you treat it that way, it's going to really, really help big time. So what's happening now is I'm working in through the corners in through here, and that's where I'm removing all that excess weight. And that's what's going to help the hair lay much better and not be so heavy, right? And that's what layers does, is it helps remove weight and give you that textured look. The key also to the haircuts, right, is you need to make sure you cut everything. Because if you have a unit that you say you're cutting on somebody else, and you're a hairstylist or a barber, and you don't go all the way down to the bottom, this is just going to look like a big chunk of hair that's just sitting there. Everything needs to be connected and blended, right? Connected and blended. Those are the key things. And the way you do it is simply follow the guide. Create a guide, follow that guide, have that vision in your head of what you want the haircut to look like in the end, and then you just stick with that. I also was excited to do this because a lot of times when you see these looks, a lot of barbers or people doing this, they go super short, you know, where it's like a bald fade, and then they create some sort of pompadour or some textured crop top on top, which is awesome. But I was like, wait a minute, I have an opportunity to showcase and do a makeover on a mannequin here that has, you know, longer hair. So why not do a tutorial with the hair being a bit longer, right? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to now reverse, and I'm going to, you know, cross-check my work and also go back to make sure that every piece is cut. Now, going in this way, right here, I'm seeing a lot of hair that still needs to be cut and layered. And that's going to happen, especially when you're combining, two different pieces of hair, It's the same thing, but when you're taking something artificial that's not growing from the scalp and putting it on and trying to work it in, you got to make sure that every little piece is accounted for, right? And that's why going into the section and into each part of the haircut from different angles, and I do this with all my haircuts, I go in from different angles because the hair is going to jump out at you in a different way each time, and it might show you that either a piece needs to be cut, or it may be too short or it's too long, whatever it is. It's going to fully show you what mistakes are there. It's a great way to cross-check and to make sure that everything is fully balanced. So right now it's looking great. I'm feeling good. I'm going to go back in here and again make sure that this is all blended and connected in. It may be still a bit heavy in some areas, but that's where we go back in with the thinning shear, and that's where we can change it up a little bit and make it a bit more textured, right? Now this is all hair from the mannequin, so this hair in particular was a bit on the drier side and kind of coarse, and it wasn't super silky like this. So that's also what makes it interesting too. So I'm trying to match up the texture right into here. All right, so now that the back is done, let's lower this down so you guys can see. And it's time to connect this into this. So we got our first layer before when we cut this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to comb this straight up. And there's my guide from before. And then there's the hair that needs to be cut. So we're going from here to here. You have to connect going from the back to the top back of the head. I'm not even calling this the top yet. This is the top back of the head, and this is the crucial part to connecting any sort of haircut, whether it's a men's haircut or a woman's haircut. You need to really make sure that everything is in sync right in through here. Now that we have that, we can move forward now, leave the past behind, and we're going to move forward this way. Here is where I'm going to take everything section by section and work right down the middle going towards the front. And now I can clearly feel the difference in the hair texture between the back and the bottom and this, because this is, again, 100% human hair. It's in great condition, and it's really easy to work with. So as we get towards the front, you don't want to skip out on any sections. So as we work towards the very front, what you want to make sure that you do is comb every single piece up and layer every single section. It's very important that you layer every single section, because you don't want this to be too heavy, right? You don't want this to ever be too heavy, and even though it's going to be a bit longer, you need to have some sort of flow to it. All right, so the top is done here, and now it's time to work in through the corners. So here is where a good amount of hair also is going to come off. Now to me, this kind of reminds me of like a mod shag almost, This is definitely kind of a shag haircut. So yes, if you're a woman watching this, you could totally wear this. And obviously if you're a guy, you can wear this too. But that's what it looks like this is turning into. So we're connecting now the top in through the corners and then the sides. This is the very sides. So we got top, corners, and sides. Everything has to be accounted for when it comes to cutting this hair, right? The top, the corners, and the sides all need to be cut. And you don't want to, see what I'm doing? I'm coming all the way down here on the very bottom, and that's all hair and weight that needs to be cut, right? The very bottom, that's the length. But what's above that is weight that just is going to make it look so heavy. And that's how you kind of get that more layered look, and that softer look is making sure that you're getting rid of all this interior heaviness right in through here with the haircut. And as you can see, it's looking much better already. So depending on the hairline, this mannequin right here has a very low hairline into the front, and make sure you're getting all of that. So I'm turning the head around, and I would be doing the same thing if this was a live model. I'm turning the head or the body position. I'm not turning my body. I'm literally standing in the same position to make sure my elbow is in good shape, right? So that I don't go over the top when I'm cutting or kind of put my body in an uncomfortable situation. So now we've got that, and again, here we go into the sides. There's all that hair right in through here, all that excess weight, and this is the best part of cutting all this because you know it's all for a good cause. It's all for a good cause. Once you get the hang of this, you know, again, doing this yourself would probably be a bit difficult, you know, especially cutting the back. You know, if you do have somebody that can help you do this, then that's great. But if you are attempting this yourself, I would say good luck, just because, you know, cutting your own hair can be easy, but it's not always necessarily the easiest, to be honest with you. You know, trust me, even for myself, I've learned how to cut my own hair, and it's not the easiest, especially in the back, right? Especially in the back. All right, so once again, going all the way down to the very, very, very bottom here, making sure that we're getting rid of any sort of excess pieces that are a bit heavy or a bit longer. I'm combing it in different directions, you know, and if you see something, gosh, I feel like I haven't shut up. I've been talking nonstop. But I want to make sure you guys get a lot of value and education from this, right? So what's happening is, let's see, which way do we want to go over? I want to go over this way, all right? Now, we're getting a lot of volume, a lot of texture, a lot of movement. It's kind of got that sweeping, you know, that's the kind of mod sweeping type of look, you know. Does everybody want to wear their hair like this? Not necessarily, but just say, for example, somebody does want to wear their hair like this. Then go for it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a cool haircut. Totally a cool haircut. All right, so now what do we do? What I like to do is just cross-check everything, especially in the front, to make sure that every hair is cut, every hair is blended in, the haircut's looking good, it's flowing good. This you can do yourself. This you can do yourself, where you can kind of comb your hair upwards, and you can see if anything is needed as far as, you know, in order to cut the hair, to remove excess weight or to balance it out. This is a bit easier to do yourself. You know, it just requires combing and holding the hair up to make sure. So let's comb it straight down again, make sure the front is good. And this is where we're going to go and kind of clean up any pieces that we feel. And if you need to cut the front shorter, then go for it, like what I'm doing right now. I'm cutting the front a little bit shorter to once again strengthen up that line, because I do want to be a certain length, but I don't want it to be too long, right? I want to have a good flow on this. So don't be afraid to go back and kind of cut areas that you think need to be cut. So let's take a thinning shear right in through here. Again, this is looking very, very, very moddy, like kind of 70s and 60s or 70s, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to be a little bit aggressive here with the thinning out, just because I feel like it's going to help the look. And I'm doing this all by hand and by feel, right? All by hand and by feel. Don't try this at home unless, you know, you don't mind attempting to lose a finger. But, you know, even in the bottom hairline, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of texturizing this to make it a bit more natural looking. Because before, this hair was really, really, really thick. Really, really thick. And you want to create a softer illusion, right, like we're doing there. The last thing you want people to do is look at this and say, oh my gosh, you know, he's wearing some sort of hair unit, or it looks so unnatural. Finding a good hairstylist who understands this is the key, to be honest with you. It's the key to it all, you know? All right, so there we go there. Again, all by feel and by eye, making sure that this is all connected in and worked in nicely. All right, there we go. So I can see a much better, bigger difference than before. If anything is too blunt, just go in there and slice it up a little bit so it looks a bit softer. Okay, now let's blow dry it. All right, I think this came out pretty awesome. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in and do just some more refining in areas that I think needs it. And this is the extra. This is putting the icing on the cake. This is just adding those finishing touches and personalizing it. You know, this is why if you go to somebody who really knows what they're doing, they're probably going to be charging at least $150, maybe $200 alone just for the haircut, right? Just for the haircut. Okay, so now is the time where if you need to thin out any of it, do it when it's fully dry. A pair of thinning shears, go through the hair, feel the weight, and just kind of chunk it out a little bit, right? I do have a link in the description of the tools that I use that you can find on Amazon, all right? So that's definitely something that is worth checking out. But let's just see here what we got, right? So you can see now if we were to wear this all back, it's not that it's bad, it's just that the hairline, it looks a bit thicker right there, almost not 100% natural. A haircut like this is definitely, you're able to hide it more. But you really, really need a good haircut, to be honest with you. You need somebody who really knows what they're doing, who can, you know, really, really take this step by step and have the patience to do it and to work with you on it. But I think this came out incredible, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. All right, so if anyone wants to know and see, here is what the back looks like, right? So again, yes, it's a bit thicker down and through here, but that's why I went in and I created some texture with the thinning shears. If you feel, right, if you feel like it's still a bit too solid with the line, that's where point cutting comes in. All right, I'm just gonna make sure not to cut my finger. All right, watch this, point cutting. See what point cutting is doing? It's allowing me to go in and soften up that line to make it a bit more natural. So point cutting and working the layers in, making sure it's all blended in is definitely of importance. So I just want to show you guys again, let's look at the scalp up close. As you can see, the scalp, and again, what makes this really unique is look at the, there we go. That looks like any human scalp right through here, which is pretty awesome. I have to admit, it looks pretty awesome. That's the one thing I wanted to really highlight is the scalp. I mean, that you cannot tell. And look at all the movement in it. Let's shake it around a little. This ain't coming off. But even when you sweep the hair, right? Look at how this blends in. Now, I know if a female is watching this, they're going to be like, oh my gosh. I mean, yes, this could be a shag, right? This kind of looks like Kris Jenner, but also for a guy, you know, this looks like almost like an anime character, like someone from Devil May Cry, you know, Dante or something like that, or, you know, more of a mod type, you know, emo type look or skater look. You know, either way, it's a really, really cool haircut for men and women. In all honesty, I felt like I just delivered a baby. Okay, that was, I mean, I talked nonstop for the last hour or whatever, how long this video is. But I hope you all enjoyed this. If you are interested in purchasing anything from LaVividHair.com, use code TheSalonGuy, all one word, and you'll get 15% off of your order. That's pretty incredible. And they have such a huge variety of hair units and different types and all poly base. I mean, different colors. They're really incredible. That's why I'm excited to work with them on this. So 2 videos a month are going to be dedicated to recreating looks and things. I'm doing on mannequins now just because I can't really do any interaction. We're all kind of in quarantine. We're not supposed to be on top of each other and seeing clients, so I'm obeying that. But let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're someone who wears a hair system, if you're a stylist looking to do this, you know, just let me know how you thought about the video and if this helped you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for more videos with a Salon Guy.